right, Bill, are we on? Yeah. All right, good morning. How are y'all? Okay. We're in Proverbs. Um, Last week we were in Matthew. Our lesson was a time to belong. This week is a time to learn. And we're in Proverbs, like I just said. And the main focus of the lesson is the central question, how can I continue to grow in wisdom? Just looking at everybody. That's it. Not just me, but everyone in here. All of the wisdom in this room is so huge that we cannot contain it, right? Miss Carol's hiding her face. Okay. But how do I continue to grow in wisdom? And what our writer has, the verses that he picked out, I think are really, we can really use them because it's almost as if it's a father talking to his child about wisdom. And of course, the book of Proverbs is attributed to King Solomon. We know the background behind Solomon. We know about David and Bathsheba. And we know about Uriah. David had Uriah killed. When Bathsheba gave birth to that first child, that child died. And then they ended up with several children, and Solomon was one of several. And then through the machinations of Bathsheba, supposedly, Solomon became King Solomon. David picked him to be king. So we know that. We know that. And the writer talks an awful lot about how parents want their children to do well. And I'm messed up already. Sorry. I have my own personal microphone person. How, we all want our children to do well. And even if some of us in here don't have our own children, we were children at one time. And we probably can all remember our parents saying, okay, don't do this because such and such will happen. Make sure you live this way. Make sure you do this. Jana and I and Jana's going to say she don't remember this, but I do. How many of you remember the old adage, don't swallow the watermelon seeds because if you do, a watermelon will grow in your stomach? Okay, I remember that. And forever, I was petrified if I swallowed a watermelon seed. I mean, really. And we all, and you're eating that watermelon, without forks or whatever, and you're spitting them out, to make sure you don't swallow that watermelon seed. But parents have always given pearls of wisdom to their children, and that's what the writer attributes our verses to, a father giving his child pearls of wisdom. And he's telling him, treat this wisdom the way it needs to be treated. I think it's said over and over again that wisdom is very different from knowledge. And you start out with your parents giving you these lessons, but it takes other people along the way to accentuate those lessons and to push you along and to make sure that you're on the right path. Now, is the path to wisdom easy? No. It's like just a minute ago, I asked Mr. Bruce a question, or I didn't ask him a question. I made a statement, and he said, oh, no, that's not right. And in my head, I knew that he would be able to tell me whether or not the statement was correct or not. You have people along the way who help you to learn and help you in that path to wisdom. A statement that's given in the student's book is this: sometimes in life it's not where you begin, but how you proceed, how you walk that path. And we've talked about this before in here, that the paths that we walk are God paths. He leads us where we're supposed to go. Whether we believe that or not. I was talking to some tourists Friday night or Friday at lunch, or I don't even remember what it was. It was this week. It was Friday, and because I've worked all weekend at the cafe, but it was Friday, and they had just left Andersonville, and they had just buried their mama at Andersonville. Well, my grandson, my son-in-law is a cemetery manager at Andersonville. And so I had asked them if they had met Charles. They said, oh, yes, he has really helped it. Charles's duty is to stand there with the family and to make all the prior arrangements. And so the man said, I've been talking to him for two months now, making sure that Mama's funeral was the way we wanted it to be. Well, they went on, and we were talking. I was talking to the sister, and she made the comment about Charles, and I said, oh, I'm very proud of Charles. And I was just telling, I was bragging. I said, oh, he's such a good daddy. He's such this, And he's my only son-in-law, but he's my favorite son-in-law, all this kind of stuff. And I made the comment. I said, I wish you could see him with his children. Charles is a very good daddy. And I said, he has a special needs son, and he is just wonderful with that child. And the sister told me, she said, my brother, whom you just talked to, has a special needs grandson, too. And she said, and they are not believers. They're not believers. And she said, but he knows that that child is a gift from God, but they're not believers. And he knows. And I was thinking, I said, oh, well, we're believers, and we know that Kyler is our gift from God. Wisdom. They're not believers, but they know he's a gift from God. And a lot of people think, oh, that's kind of, you're kind of Xing out things there. But no, wisdom. We all have it. It's just how we use it that makes the difference. Let's look at the scripture. We start out with Proverbs 4, 1 through 10, and then we skip over to 20 through 27. Listen, my sons, to a father's instruction. Pay attention and gain understanding. I give you sound learning, so do not forsake my teaching. For I too was a son to my father, still tender and cherished by my mother. Then he taught me, and he said to me, take hold of my words with all your heart. Keep my commands, and you will live. Get wisdom, get understanding. Do not forget my words or turn away from them. Do not forsake wisdom, and she will protect you. Love her, and she will watch over you. The beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom. Though it cost all you have, get understanding. Cherish her, and she will exalt you. Embrace her, and she will honor you. She will give you a garland to grace your head and present you with a glorious crown. Listen, my son, accept what I say, and the years of your life will be many. Well, once again, I say this all the time. You read it, and it says, get wisdom, accept it, and the years of your life will be many. Okay. Then we skip down to 20. My son, pay attention to what I say. Turn your ear to my words. Do not let them out of your sight. Keep them within your heart, for they are life to those who find them and health to one's whole body. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Keep your mouth free of perversity. Keep corrupt talk far from your lips. Let your eyes look straight ahead. Fix your gaze directly before you. Give careful thought to the paths for your feet, and be steadfast in all your ways. Do not turn to the right or the left, and keep your foot from evil. Stay on the path. Stay on the path. Guard your heart. Look how many times the writer says, guard your heart. Guard your heart. Keep your heart to you, And of course, we're not just talking, your heart is, well, you're alive because of your heart. The heart beats. But we also have heart, don't we? You know, we've all, in one time or another in our lives, had a heavy heart. We've all had a glad heart. We've all had a heart that was just overrun with joy. We've all had a heart that was just so full. We didn't know what to do. Whether to cry or to dance or to yell out loud. We just don't know. But Solomon is saying, guard it. Take care of it. Guard that wisdom. Keep it within your heart. Save it. And to me, it's like, save it. So when you need it, you can pull it out and look at it or think about it. And keep it right there with you. One point that's been brought out is that Proverbs, okay, let's just say this. We're not really sure if King Solomon came up with every single one of these Proverbs, are we? He probably came up with a lot of them, but then he probably heard others, right? Others that were passed down to him. Maybe from David, who knows? Maybe from Bathsheba, who knows? The people around him, the teachers he had. But he put them all together. And our writer says that Proverbs is kind of like, you know those boards where you go into the grocery, like Walmart, and it's got all those help wanted things on it, sticky notes, and you can pull off a sticky note here or pull off a little phone number here. And it's just a jumble of stuff. Because he says that you can look at words of wisdom in chapter 1, and then you can look at words of wisdom in chapter 4, and they make no sense if you're trying to connect them. They're simply things that he wants us to know about life and about what we need to know. He goes on to tell us that wisdom is the most valuable gift that we can give our children. Wisdom is the most valuable gift. He also says that, and I've said this already, it's costly. It's going to cost time and effort, and it ain't going to be easy. And you can't just say, I got wisdom, I'm okay. You have to put effort behind it. Somebody can give you a word of wisdom, and you hear it, but that doesn't mean you have it. You have to put the effort behind it. You have to make sure that you put your money where your mouth is, so to speak. One definition of wisdom is this: experiencing life with a heart that embraces the challenges and the lessons that life can bring us. And somebody named Guzik, it doesn't say his first name, said this: the heart is the center of everything. It's where love begins. It's where love grows. It's where character is produced. A pure heart is married to wisdom. In fact, wisdom is personified as a bride, quote, to be loved and embraced. We all want wisdom. Now think for just a minute to your grandmamas and your great-grandmamas. Probably, in my eyes, my grandmamas, my granddaddies, I only knew Mama for a short time, Mama's grandmama. But they were wisdom personified, right? We could go to them and ask them a question, and they would just give us exactly what we needed, right? Now, I look at myself, and I think of my grandchildren coming to me and going, oh, Nana. I'm going, I don't know if I'm ready yet. I was out play basketball yesterday with them, and they were both telling me how terrible I was, So my wisdom in basketball isn't very good. But, we all want that wisdom. And we want our people to listen to us. It says helping a child or a teen grow in wisdom is a team effort. And we don't want our children to make the exact same mistakes that we made, do we? Now, at the time we were making those mistakes, they weren't mistakes, were they? They were what we were supposed to be doing, right? And then when we grew a little bit older, we realized, maybe I shouldn't have done that. So when I have my child, I'm going to tell them not to do that. But that was a mistake. And I look at my two, and they've made some of the very same mistakes that I made, but in different ways. I guess that's okay. I don't know. But King Solomon is saying, we're all going to make those mistakes. But keep your heart close and listen to the words that I give you. Just listen to them. And maybe we'll glean just a little bit. Our writer tells us that wisdom has to be wanted. We have to want it. Because if we don't want it, we're not going to listen to it, are we? If we don't want it, we're just going to read words in Proverbs. We're not going to read and listen to the proverb. We're just going to read the words. We've got to want it. He gives an example about his son who had played soccer all of his life. And when he got to high school, he decided he wanted to play football. And the writer says, we didn't watch football. We didn't go to football games. We didn't do any of that stuff. But my son decided he wanted to play football, and the coach was encouraging him. So he said, we gave into it. These were the reasons the coach wanted him to play. Number one, he was a good kid. Number two, he was athletic. He was fierce. And number three, he had never played football before. Had never played it. That was an asset because he had no experience, so he had no bad habits that he had to correct. You know, Bud played baseball all his life, and I remember in junior high, he decided he wanted to play football. I'm going, If you can break your arm standing on a pitcher's mound, what are you going to do on a football field? So we let him be the water boy for a little while for the football team. And after about the third game, he came and said, I ain't doing this no more. It's too hot. That water's too heavy. I'm not doing it. I'll stick to baseball. And all through high school, his coaches kept saying, let him play football. He's fast. Let him play football. He can break his arm. Let me repeat this. If he can break his arm standing on a pitcher's mound, he will get killed on the football field. Right? No experience. He had no mistakes that they would have to correct. But as we go through life, like I said, we're going to make those mistakes. And hopefully the wisdom that comes from those mistakes will help us to correct them. But Solomon says, stay on the path. Don't go to the right. Don't go to the left. Stay on the path. Walk as straight as you can. Don't veer off. But what happens to us? We veer off every day, don't we? In one way or another. Oh, I'm just going to walk down this way for just a little bit, and I'm going to see what. They told me there was an alligator at the end of this little path, but I don't believe them. I'm going to go. Then what's there? That alligator, which I'm using that as an example, y'all, an image. Something that we knew was there to begin with, and we just decided we wanted to experience it, right? And we knew it wasn't going to be good for us. Sometimes we fall into that alligator's mouth, and then we have to pull ourselves out of it. And hopefully, the wisdom that we have will remember it, and we can pull ourselves out. But sometimes we have to fall time and time. Do we do? The writer said that he wrote a book, and I think we've used a little of this before. It's called With Love from Dad. And he decided he was going to sit down and write letters to his children. This was the very first letter. I had so much good advice and many thrilling experiences I wanted to give you, but now I sadly realize that much will have to go unsaid and undone. So to make up for those missed opportunities, I've decided to write you a series of letters. Every Saturday morning for the next year, I'm going to sit down here at the kitchen table beside a cup of coffee and string together some pearls of wisdom to give to you. These ramblings may well represent the wisdom of a fool, but I hope they'll help you both now and in the future. And as we have opportunity, I hope that someday we can sit down and talk about some of these things. Because what we want to do is to pass that baton to our children. That's what Solomon was doing. He was passing the baton. He goes on to tell us that when we think about the gifts we would like to give our children, the list is very long. We want them to have a roof over their heads, right? We want them to have food on the table. We want them to be healthy. We want them to be able to accept and to meet the challenges of life. We want them to have a good education. We want them to learn a trade or a skill. We want them to have fun. We want them to enjoy life. We want them to know and experience God. And we want them to always feel blessed by both us and God. And that's what we talked about last week, isn't it? How children are blessings. And they're not just blessings that God just hands over to us and says, okay, here's your blessing. They're the blessings that we have to hold on to and make them feel as if they are blessed. Not as if, that they are blessed. That's what we do. And in the age of Facebook, I know Deidre has pictures galore of her grandbabies. I do too. Betty does. Our nieces and nephews, Mary Jo, all of us, grandchildren, all of us, children. And it's wonderful to see those pictures. Because, and we even have, don't we have now, sayings, I'm blessed. Bless this house. Bless my life. Blessed and happy. Fat and blessed and happy. I mean, we got them everywhere, don't we? We do. We do. But unless we really look at the word blessed, they're just words, right? Words. Well, looking at pictures of all these children that we put out there for people to see, my friends that I have on there, you can tell that those are blessings. My friends' lives. But what we have to do is we have to make sure that they are. We want to give our children wisdom. We want to give them a moral compass. We want them to know the difference between right and wrong. We want them to know how to understand between true and false. How many times have one of my children come to me, I thought they were my friend, Mama. I thought they liked me. And in our family, I didn't learn this here, but when I went off to college, I have the last name Carter. I learned that some people just like that name. They just like that name. And I had very quickly had to learn who my friends were and who my friends weren't. And that was a lesson. And I didn't have much wisdom. And I fell into that trap many times. Many times. But I am stronger because of it. But anyway, it just, we want them to know the difference between right and wrong. We want them to know that the finest gift we can give them, the art of wisdom. I like what he says here. If we can do that, they will be equipped to face whatever they have to face with a fully functioning compass. Fully functioning. we also want to make sure that they know that they're going to have to reap what they sow. Right? If you do this is going to happen. Mark my words. If you swallow that watermelon seed, Mama, you're going to grow a watermelon. Okay? I know now that all Mama was telling us, and Granny and Granddaddy and Grandma were telling us, you're going to get a stomach ache if you eat that much watermelon and swallow that many seeds. And it always happened. Okay? You're going to reap what you sow. Now that's a good thing and a bad thing, isn't it? You do something wrong, you're going to reap the wrong. But if you do something good and you listen to the wisdom and you listen to your compass, then good things are going to happen. Another thing, and I don't know how many times he said heart, is you got to keep your heart with all the vigilance that you have. You got to keep that heart. You got to be vigilant about it. Now I'm going to use Betty as an example. Can I say what you just told me a few minutes ago? Is that okay? Okay. Betty and Bose have their grandson's wife, their granddaughter, is in the hospital right now in the throes of having a baby. Okay. Their hearts are overflowing, correct? Another great grandbaby on the way. On the way, basically, right? Betty has already said that she will not be looking at her phone. Now, all of us who know her know that, I'm sorry, that's a tale. I'm not going to say lie. It's a tale. I know I would be. I know you. You're going to be. Right? We all would be. And if it weren't for things going on in our world today, they'd be sitting over there. But they can't be, right? A heart overflowing. Betty's going to have to be vigilant with her heart this morning, because if she gets a text on that telephone saying that baby's been born, she's going to be jumping up out of that seat. And we'll all be celebrating with her, right? We have to keep our hearts vigilant. Two things about keeping your heart vigilant. The first one is words of wisdom heal us, don't they? Probably all of us in this room have someone that when we hurt, we can go to, and all they have to do is talk to us, and it will heal us. The second thing is words of wisdom will energize us. Sometimes we just need